Greetings everyone and welcome to the CODEC Show, episode number 16, fall semester 2017. So those of you here in the studio audience, let me hear some really good applause. Not bad, actually. That's pretty good, guys. So my name is Peter James, and I'm your host. So this is kind of a unique show. We are located on the beautiful campus of the College of DuPage, one of the largest two-year community colleges in the country. So kudos to you guys for being part of this as well. At CODEC, the College of DuPage Entrepreneurship Club, our goal is to expose students and local community members to entrepreneurs and small business owners. So we got a special guest. Hey, audience, let's give our special guest. You don't even know who our guest is. Let's give her a hand again. So our distinguished guest is Peach Carr. Peach, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So before I even let her tell her story, this is a COD alum who has taken her world, her business world, to new heights, television new heights as well. She's got a fashion line also. I'm stealing your thunder. But welcome to COD.
Thank you.
Welcome back to COD.
Yeah, right.
I hear you're like a staple here on a regular basis.
I come and I hang in the fashion studies department. I help out a lot there.
So I heard a little bit about your story. I heard a little bit about what you did while you were here. But the students here and the people behind the camera land, they don't know. So tell us what you did while you were a student here at the College of DuPage. Tell me all the good stuff and the bad stuff too, right?
Well, I will tell you, I'm a dinosaur. I was here from 1978 to 1980, right? Nobody was even born then. And I was a high school student that I had great grades, I had a great resume, but I found myself in a situation where I had no place to go.
Sure.
And I went to St. Francis High School in Wheaton, and I went to the guidance counselor and I said, I got nothing. So he took, at that time they had a carousel of pamphlets from College of DuPage.
Sure.
And he spun it and I closed my eyes and stuck my finger out and it said Rad Tech. I said, I can do this for 2 years. So I came here to the Rad Tech program and I graduated from there. The thing I did that was so much fun is I joined the forensics team and, you know, shenanigans like you can't believe, and I learned how to drink. So it was kind of a win-win all the way around. It was the fun that went with the science.
Right, right.
And when I graduated, I worked in an emergency room for 15 years, and then I got married and I became extremely ill. And to this day, there's no cure for what I have, and we just kind of tread water.
Sure.
So I couldn't work anymore for quite some time. And this whole time, though, I sewed. I learned how to sew in 4-H when I was 11, and I was poor, so I made my own white uniforms. I sewed for people's kids. And when my daughter was 15, she said, we were watching Project Runway. She said, you should be on this show. And I said, you should mind your own business. So she filled out the application and sent it in, and I got a call back, and I went for an audition, and Tim Gunn said, how long have you been making women's clothes? Hour and a half. He said, maybe, come back next year. So I came back the next year, sailed through it, and out of 14,000 people, they took 16 of us. Wow. And at 50 years old, I became one of the designers on season 8 of Project Runway. And I had no idea that the talent and the drive I had for fashion, it was my life vest when I was a kid. I had a rough situation as a kid, and that was my life vest. And I didn't know that I could take my life vest and turn it into my own business. Yeah. And it wasn't until these strangers said to me, we have faith in you, and we think you can do this. And when I came off the show, you don't have to be the winner to be a winner. I'm doing much better. My business is 10 times what the girl who won my season is. Wow. It's amazing that when you have to, hike up your britches and grit your teeth sometimes, what is inside of you that you don't know is inside. I had no idea I was made of grit, and I am.
So wait a minute. So you're telling me you were just sewing, and you went from sewing to be to Project Runway. What was that path like? Did you have any experience to that world of fashion when you got started?
As a kid, like I said, I had a tough situation as a kid, and the girl next door handed me, she's about 10 years older than I, and she, through the fence, handed me a Vogue magazine. I think it was a 1966 Vogue magazine. And the pages were worn, and I, in my head, redesigned. I wanted to be Twiggy, then I wanted to dress Twiggy. And she's kind of one of my muses. Sure. But I sewed because we had to. And I didn't know that it wasn't normal to look at a simplicity sewing pattern and say, why don't I change this part and move this around? And I was changing patterns at 11 years old.
Wow.
And I didn't know that that wasn't normal, there's something inside there. And that was, fashion was a passion of mine, but I never in a million years thought that I could. I didn't believe in myself, I didn't like myself, I didn't have any self-worth. I had a great bully in 5th grade, and she took most of my hair. By the time Donald Trump should take some lessons on a good comb over. My ponytail, by the time she was finished with me in 8th grade, was the size of a pencil. My hair fell out.
Wow.
And your self-esteem and your self-worth goes with that. So I never, if you had told me I would be what I'm doing today, I told you you're bananas. But having that opportunity to be on the show and survive like I did and put out some beautiful work, when I was leaving, the executive producers came and they pulled me aside and they said, we want to talk to you. And I thought, middle child Irish Catholic, what did I do? And they said, we want you to understand what's going to happen when this first episode airs, because the first episode was already edited and in the can when we left, when we wrapped. And they said, you're going to be launched into a world where people are going to recognize what you have. And I never in a million years would have said I'm talented. I am. You know, I am. And I have a lot of just grit, because that's kind of how we were raised. But they told me, market yourself, wear your stuff, tell everybody what you do, and all the no's that you hear, filter the no's, because eventually there's going to be a yes, and just listen to a little bit of it, and then take about 10% of it, change about 10%, and just keep pushing.
So you dove headfirst into this reality show world.
Cried the whole way on the airplane. Sobbed the whole, what am I doing?
You dove headfirst. I mean, what was that like? What were even the no's? Because, you know, a lot of times we talk with our students and members here about, you know, I almost say get to learn to love no's so that you can keep fighting for those yeses. What was that process like, even for that perspective?
You know, I had heard no my whole life from, you know, everybody. I was just by the time I got to Project Runway. But I stood back because I was older, and I stood back and started to see what when the kids were, and they were kids, when they were taking in the no's and changing their aesthetic and changing who they were, I wanted to scream, no, that's not what a no is for. A no is to redirect you. It's not to stop you. And if you look at a no as it's going to stop me, then go do something else. You shouldn't be an entrepreneur. I know it takes a long time to learn it, but look at the no's as a redirection. So I was able to take these no's that came with, your aesthetic, and what are you doing, and what's that fabric, and they were trying to redirect me to the right answer, to find my own pathway.
And you know, another way to describe no's, it's almost like many failures, but as an entrepreneur, you don't let failure stop you. You look for ways to shift, adjust. They're telling you something as a result of those no's until you find that yes, and then you found that gold mine.
Yeah, and you know, when I walked into the first doorway here at College of DuPage, I was so defeated, and I just saw this big wall in front of my life. And what I'm finding out now through everything I've been through, that it's not a wall, it's a door, and it's shut really tightly, but you put on your combat boots and keep kicking until it pops open a little bit, and all those no's are that thing that you think is a wall, but it's a door. And eventually you fight your way through the no's and you redirect and find the crack in the door and go through.
So take us from Project Runway to where you are now. What happened as a result? What has opened up for you, and where has your fashion line gone since then?
Amazing. One of the other things that came with, I'm funny. I'm really funny. I'm really funny. So what came with, I'm a very quick wit, and that came from my childhood. Man, you had to redirect fast in my family. So they started calling on me when I got home, and I was home a week, and I get a phone call. There's an event with a bunch of celebrities, and we're sending you in to entertain clients. So they sent me all over the country. I'm going to say for 5-6 years. They sent me all over to do events, speaking events, and entertaining clients, and bring a fashion show to a charity. I would bring a line of whatever it was I was producing at the time, and then I would listen to I'd see what went down the runway, and I'd watch from the back, I'd watch the faces, and you could tell what pieces were successful and what wasn't, and then the pieces that were not successful went to a certain rack in my studio, and all the successful pieces I put on one side and then thought, refining. So we're refining the yeses and get rid of the nos.
So, you know, for those of us who are in, those of us in the audience who are even watching who are in the fashion industry remotely, I've heard horror stories. I've heard horror stories how it can be cutthroat, and you know you have to deal with.
It's ugly. It's so ugly.
You know, give us a little picture
Well,
of what that looks like.
I'm like a Labrador puppy, right? I come into the fashion world here in Chicago, and I'm thinking I love everybody, and let's all. No, it is brutal in Chicago.
Really?
It's easier for me in LA. It's easier for me in Texas. Chicago is brutal. It is ugly. It is ugly. It is brutal.
Wow.
And so I had to, the bucket of cold water came into my face, and then I had to back up and say, all of that is inconsequential to what I'm doing. Sure. I have a voice in fashion. I have a great business. One of my little skirts is my magic skirt. Right. I'm now doing sizes 2 to 24, and over a 24, message me, we'll make you something. But I have a line of handbags. I have a patent pending on something I invented. That's been a 4-year process, and that's another bunch of no's. It's the patent process, holy smokes.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's been 4 years of the lawyer going, yeah, well, reword this. And I'm still working on that. I copyrighted and trademarked my logo and my, one of the things I did, Peach Carr Design, so I don't have it on today, but my logo is, I was going to a party in New York. They were sending me to New York, Lifetime was, to do a thing with Heidi Klum. She's prettier in person. I'm just going to get that out there. It was pretty as she is on camera.
I was going to ask you that, actually.
Oh, gorgeous, and she's smart and she's funny. But they were sending me to New York, and she said, have your logo on your business cards. I'm ambidextrous, and neither hand can draw. Oh. None of it. I can't draw a thing. So I stood there at Kinko's, you know, with the pen in my hand, and the guy said, lady, if you want to get on an airplane with business cards, draw something. And I cartooned my face and my head, that crazy hairdo. Yeah. So I cartooned it and gave it to him. And thank God it was on an envelope. He tore off the piece and gave it to me because, gun to my head, I couldn't do it again. But I sent that to my graphic designer, and she said, you should probably trademark and copyright this. So I kind of went along that process, and there's a lot of no's that come with that, but I did get my yes on my trademark.
Wow.
But it's that dogged determination of, you know, you've got an idea, you know you have something. It can take years. My patent's 4 years in the making. I'm probably another year away. Yeah. I'm not giving up because I have a great idea.
Interesting, interesting. So, you know, you progressed a little bit. You got the fashion line going on. You got the website, got the logo, got the patent and everything like that. So now, as you got it streamlined, who's in your circle right now? Who do you keep in your circle so that you can keep?
This big.
Tell us about that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Christian Siriano won season, I think it was 4 maybe, and Christian is the most successful Project Runway alum, and he's a real good guy, real smart guy, and when everybody wants a piece of you when you have a success and they want to come in and kind of take what they can, Christian told me to keep my inner circle very tight. I have a very tight inner circle. I took an intern once. She stole my patterns and sold them to somebody. Do I take interns? Nuh-uh. I don't have anybody work. I don't have interns. I had a marketing intern, and the marketing interns, which are great, they don't have anything to do with patterns, with production, with ordering. You keep your secrets. It's one thing, we have a camaraderie. Project Runway alums are like a fried egg. The center, the yellow part, is all the good people that are working. I need leather shorts pleated, I know a guy. And it's that tight little circle. And then all the white part is all the people that want a piece of you or just wanted to be on TV and aren't genuine. Keep your yoke tiny and close to you. Don't trust a whole lot of people when you first kind of get moving along. There are things, trade secrets, there are things, new ideas. Keep them to yourself or keep them to the people that you know you can trust with a secret.
But then, you know, especially for our audience, who can they trust? I mean, you know, how many people do you have that you feel like you can trust, and what should that circle look like? Is it mentors, people who have gone before you, who have done it in the industry for a little while, professors, you know, just who is it for you?
The people that you can trust are the people that you know, I mean, and you know in your heart. I'm going to tell you the craziest secret in the entire world is that somebody you know is going to keep it to themselves. My girlfriend eloped, I kept that secret for 20 years from my husband, who was her best friend, and she said, why didn't you tell him? I said, what part of telling no one included my husband? But sometimes it's a colleague, but it's got to be a colleague on your level who's got your same group of scruples and principles and drive. Sometimes it's a family member. My husband does my books.
Sure.
He's the math guy. I have 2 girlfriends that see my patterns and my collections, and I go with for picking up fabric and things like that I would trust with my life. But you'll know if there's even a little no. There's certain just keep enough to yourself that you know that will make or break you down the line.
Absolutely. So I've been asking all the questions here, folks here in the studio audience. Any questions from the audience relative to fashion, relative to business, relative to
your own business?
Some of you have asked me questions before about patenting and copywriting. Yes, sir, over there. Speak up for me.
Is there anything you'd like to share on like trends, specifically like streetwear, from the context of either starting like an online like store or merchandising for a music group with a logo?
Oh man, like streetwear is where it's at right now, and I have a lot of friends who, well, I don't know if you know who Michael Costello is, and he designs for, you know, rock stars and music stars and movie stars. I'm going to give you the one piece of advice that was given to me. I was approached by a big department store. Stay away from that. Do you know the secret behind the department store thing? Let's say they say, we're going to sign you. Don't do brick and mortar for a long time. Stay away from it. Do your online stuff. You wear your own clothes, and everywhere you go, somebody will say, oh, cool pants, thank you, they're mine. And then you hand them a business card. You can get cheap business cards. My first set of business cards were so cheap, but had my name, had my phone number. Do a website. I did mine through Wix. I still do mine through Wix because you don't pay for it. It's free. It's fine. What? WIX.
WIX.com.
Yeah, and there are some limitations to it, but it's free, and you can do your own maintenance of it. You don't need to hire anybody and pay. Don't pay for your website until you have to pay for a website. The brick and mortar stores. Let's go. Neiman Marcus says, hey, unbelievable hip hop pants. Got to have them. But what they do is they sign you into a contract where you give them maybe 200 pieces. Those 200 pieces stay on their shelves for 30 days. After 30 days, they have the option to reduce the price. Guess what you don't get paid until? You don't get paid until they're out of their store. So let's say you only sell 10 out of the 100. You have to buy them back. You can't just say, can you sell them at TJ Maxx? You have to broker that on your own.
Yeah.
So many designers and fashion people, manufacturers, they go out of business in 10 seconds because they fall into that. Wow. Don't go with any of those fashion coaches. They're going to help you with your business. Make your line very tiny, but Joanna Coles, at that time when I was on the show, she was editor of Mary Claire. Then she went to Cosmo. Now she's very big in the Hearst Corporation. And I had some time in Paris with her by myself, and she said the 3 things. Always wear your own clothes, carry your own product, always have one in your pocket, in your whatever it is that you're making. It doesn't have to be fashion. Always have something on you. Always have a business card, and the minute somebody strikes up a conversation with you, you can lead into, hey, what do you do? Well, this is what I do. You never know who you're talking to, that somebody who's going to either buy your product, promote your product, go into business with you. The possibilities are out there, but they're not out there unless you, and I've sewed clothes off my body. I always have an extra skirt in my bag. I was in the Denver airport one day, and some woman says, I'm on my way to a wedding. How fast can I have that skirt? I said, give me a second. Pulled the top one over, put the bottom one. I have get the square card. It's on my phone. I gave her, I threw a price out there. She said, I'll take it, boom, boom, and off she went. And I went to go sit down, and the people at the gate said, you had something else on a minute ago. I said, I sold it. I always have an extra skirt with me.
Wow.
I sell things off my body. Always talk about what you're doing.
That's a hustle. I like that.
You have to hustle.
It's
shameless. It's okay to be shameless. Be shameless. And this came from a woman who at that time was an editor of a fashion magazine that went all the way up to a very big position in the Hearst Corporation. And she said, always talk about what you're doing and carry your product, wear your product. There's no shame in promoting yourself. Believe in yourself and do it. Yeah.
2 questions. First of all, on like the production side, do you think it makes sense like for you to like get your own manufacturing place, or do you always just like pay somebody to do it?
Pay somebody to do it. To do your own manufacturing plant, oh, it's a nightmare, because not only do you have to do the building and the machines and the maintenance of the machines, your workers, they have to have they have to be insured. They have to be, you've got to have your, I can't tell you, the industrial machines do like 70 pounds per square inch of pressure, and they can go right through, they can go through your wrist if you put your wrist under there. So how many of those fingers get nicked? I've done it 100 times. I've seen Jesus, because if you put that needle right through the top of your nail bed with one of those babies, he's got a gray beard. So all of the, the utilities and you don't want that nightmare. It's so cost effective. There's a couple in Chicago. There's a whole bunch in New York, obviously in LA. But you can dig and find the manufacturing. I will never own a manufacturing company. My line is all made by women, and they're all working moms from Latvia. And they're here supporting their families. But you go there almost every day, or in the beginning until you get your quality control. I was in a sweatshop, and I didn't know it was a sweatshop. Something was weird when I went in, and they made my first
in the U.S.
In Chicago, and on the South Side. And I went in, and I kept thinking, there's something, when the hair on the back of your neck goes up, it's there for a reason. And so I kind of suspected something was happening. I wasn't allowed in the basement, and everything was, the machines are down there, it's dirty. So I went in one day with 30 bolts in my car, and I said, could you get the bolts out? And while they were all getting the bolts out, I ran downstairs and I saw kids. And so that's when I said, get my stuff out of here, and they got everything out. And I have a friend who works in the mayor's office, and my first thing as I got in my car, I dialed up the mayor's office, and they were gone in 24 hours. They knew they were going to get found out, and they moved out and they were gone. But
wow.
They're hard to find, but you dig, but don't ever.
Wow. And my second question is, do you like reach out to social influencers on like social media and like give them free product?
Absolutely not. Nope. Sorry, bloggers. Nuh-uh. Have I ever, I've been doing this 7 years, given anybody a social media blogger? No, don't do it. They all ask. I get probably 10 requests a day. If you float me this, I'll write about you for 10 seconds. Doesn't make any difference. That's not where the difference comes. The difference comes, I had a dress on Dina Manzo. She was one of the Real Housewives of New Jersey, and she wore one of my dresses, and she tweeted, Peach Carr designs, in 13 seconds I sold 60 dresses of that kind. Then all of a sudden people go, that's the coolest dress. What else does she have? And your website's right there, and they go to your website.
That's cool. That's great, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. I've had a couple of those moments. But giving them to the bloggers, if they even wear it, they selfie, here we are, and it goes along the wayside. You're wasting product. I don't ever give that stuff away.
So I guess what I'm hearing you say is that you have to be very specific about how you do that, if you do that.
Yeah, I do a lot of, I have this line of handbags. I don't have one with me. They're cute as the devil. And you have to find your money maker, and that makes so much money, these little handbags, that they pay for everything else I do. Travel, employees, everything.
Wow.
Because this little bag, I found it. But everybody will ask you for one, or a piece for a charity donation or whatever. 501c3, I don't, it's gotta be kids or education. Or relief, but you've got to be very picky with what you give away and be very strategic. What kind of audience is this going to reach? But the bloggers, am I offending anybody? Is anybody a fashion blogger here? Sorry. They're not going to help you by giving away free product. They'll help you if they like what you're doing, but the ones that ask you for things are the ones you feel you have to give things to, nuh-uh.
Someone else had a hand up over
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, I had a question about what makes your designs better than your competitors?
Oh, very good. What I do is, because I didn't go to fashion school, I break the rules with patterning. So my clothes, they fit a variety of sizes and body types. Everything I make, even my evening gowns, go in the washing machine. And you hang them over a chair and they dry. They don't wrinkle. So to me, you're paying for my clothes once, and you're not paying for them every time you wear them. I go to New York sometimes if I go for a one day, if I'm going in for an event. And Heidi Klum threw a party on the High Line. I was in for less than 24 hours. I took a Ziploc sandwich bag and I had a change of clothes. And I just took it out and put it on. So that's my things are, my prints are nuts and they're funny, really funny. But I make clothes that fit people, that are less expensive than most of my competitors, and they go in the washing machine. If you can put a sequin dress in the washing machine and not pay somebody $27 to clean it, they're going to come back to me. And my clients are repeat clients because they go, A, I'm comfortable, B, it went in the washing machine.
One more question. Yes, sir.
What would you say your daily schedule is? As far as like planning or organizing your schedule?
I'm a list maker. Every day, the first thing I do when I get up, when I get the coffee in my hand, is I take my sheet of paper and I do, the first is the things that must get done, and then the calls that must be made, the emails that must be answered, and then there's the wish list. And that's just, if I get 2 of those off my list, I'm happy. So I make my list and I'm a very organized person, and I make my list. And then now we have a new puppy, we call her, holy hell, the white tornado. So my schedule is switched where I work PMs because my husband is gone during the day. My husband's an entrepreneur. He owns his own business. But normally, if I don't have the holy terror, I'm up in my studio. I have a house that was a barn, and the hayloft is my studio. And I'm up there no later than 7, maybe 8 a.m. And I am there until 5 or 6 p.m. And if it's pattern making or making samples, but I give myself a half-hour lunch every day, and even if you're not eating, it's just that take a step away, I'll go for a walk, I'll do something fun, put mindless TV on, but just take that break from my day. But sometimes I'm there 7 days a week, sometimes it's only 5 days. My travel days on the airplane, I work on the plane, and it's all sketching and gathering ideas. But I'm obsessed, and I can't wait to go to work every single day. I can't tell you how much I love what I do and how grateful I am to have the opportunity at 50 to get a switch in a career that's exciting. I meet so many cool people, and I do exciting things. And my girlfriend was on Saturday Night Live in the 80s. She's coming tonight, and her career, we're kind of parallel but different, but we both do cool stuff, and we take each other to cool stuff. But I love every second of my job, every second.
So let's finish off. Let's finish off with this question here I have for you. I like to ask all my guests this, and actually I heard you talk about it during this alumni event here that we're at. If knowing then what you know now, putting yourself in the place of our students and our audience as well, what would you tell yourself back then?
Oh, I would have told myself, you're okay. I walked into this establishment thinking I was a failure and thinking I had nothing and I was nothing. If I knew now how much grit and talent and go get 'em that I had inside of me that needed to be pulled out through the years, if I started out then the way I am now, you'd be reading about me on a Paris runway or something. I can't even imagine how big my business would be had I believed in myself when I did. And I used to look in the mirror every day and go, oh, it's you. Now I look in the mirror every day and I go, let's go get it. Every day I have a different feel, but I wish I had more confidence and more self-worth back then that I have now. It would be different, but it was that journey that got me so determined to succeed and not let anybody tell me I can't.
And those of you who are watching, you got it in you. It's in you right now.
It's there.
And if you don't think it's there, it's just you telling yourself that it's not there. It's there. Now just go make it happen, whatever it is.
Yeah, and get out of your own way. That's what I said before. Get out of your way. We all tend to be our worst critics. Find some time in your day to go, okay, I'm not going to be critical of myself today. You're all here. Everybody in this room is here. The people who are watching is because this is what you want. You want to be your own boss. It doesn't blow to be your own boss. It's nice. It's nice to be your own boss. It's nice to have your ideas and your talent come out of your hands and say, look what I created. But if you get out of your way, the sooner you get out of your way and the sooner you believe in yourself, you're here because you know you have something. Take that something and just keep going.
Awesome. Let's give Peach a hand, folks.
Thank you.
So, for those of you watching and behind the camera, and those of you here in the audience, we're going to make sure that we queue up her website. You can visit her. I'm sure you can reach out to her if you have questions.
Absolutely, email me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming. Thank
Most
you again
welcome.
for
Absolutely.
being part of the.
Yeah. Thank you.